We've traveled beyond strategy, beyond formulas, beyond logic. You've remembered what the world made you forget. That wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you align with. Your inner compass has always been waiting for you to listen. Stop doubting your signals. Stop silencing your instincts. Feel first. Move second. Trust that inner yes, because it's guiding you toward more than money. It's guiding you toward freedom. The question now isn't if you'll be wealthy. It's when you'll start trusting the part of you that already is. So here's your challenge. Starting today, stop looking outside for the next opportunity and start tuning in. Your wealth blueprint is already alive within you. You just have to listen. And don't forget subscribe this channel. Chapter 1. Stop overthinking. Money, you're thinking too much. You're analyzing every move. You're trapped in your own head, and that's why money keeps slipping through your hands. You tell yourself you need another plan, another spreadsheet, another perfect system to make it work. But what you really need is clarity, not more logic, more presence. Wealth doesn't flow through calculation. It flows through alignment. It flows through people who move, not those who sit there paralyzed by their next what if. Let's get this straight. Money doesn't come to the person who knows the most. It comes to the person who acts the fastest from a place of clarity and conviction. You can't calculate conviction. You can only feel it. You've been conditioned to believe success is a mental game, that the smarter you are, the richer you'll become, that if you can just think harder, you'll figure it out. But that's a lie. Overthinking is a form of fear dressed up as intelligence. You're not planning. You're stalling. You're not strategizing. You're hiding behind information. And the truth is, all the logic in the world won't replace the courage to act. You already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. You just don't trust yourself enough to move. That's the blockage. Not money, not opportunity, not luck, it's you. It's the part of you that doubts, rechecks, and overthinks until the window of opportunity has closed. The moment you start thinking about every possible outcome, you disconnect from your power. Because power doesn't live in thought. It lives in motion. It lives in the now. It lives in the decision, say it out loud, less thinking. More sensing, less logic, more presence. You've got to stop using your brain as a shield and start using your intuition as a compass. Every successful person you admire didn't think their way into wealth. They felt their way into alignment. They knew when to strike because they trusted that inner yes. They didn't need the world's approval because their internal signal was louder than the noise. You have that same signal. You've just been ignoring it, drowning it out with podcasts, books, opinions, analysis, and fear. You're addicted to input, and that addiction is killing your clarity, because clarity doesn't come from consumption. It comes from stillness. It comes from knowing. It comes from listening. You don't need more knowledge. You need less noise. That's the key. Think about it. Every breakthrough in your life, every moment that changed everything, didn't come from overthinking. It came from a flash, a decision, a feeling that said, do it. And when you followed that feeling, everything shifted. That's intuition. That's your wealth blueprint speaking. And every time you ignore it, you drift further from the flow of abundance. So stop trying to figure money out. Stop trying to solve wealth like a math problem. Money isn't logical. It's energetic. It responds to clarity, confidence, and momentum, not to doubt, delay, and indecision. Let me say that again. Money doesn't reward complexity. It rewards clarity. It rewards the person who can say, this is what I want, and move. That's what you must train. Not your IQ, not your logic. Your ability to sense alignment and act on it without hesitation. Here's what that looks like in real life. You get an idea. Your intuition lights up. Instead of immediately asking, what if it fails? You ask, what if it works? And then you move. You take one step. You test, you adjust. That's how wealth is built, not through perfect planning, but through aligned action. Overthinkers stay broke because they mistake movement for danger. They wait until everything makes sense, but nothing makes sense until you start moving. That's the paradox. Clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity is born from action. You can't learn how to swim by reading about it. You learn by stepping into the water. You can't learn how to trust your intuition by thinking about it. You learn by listening and leaping. So here's your shift. When you feel that pull, that whisper inside saying, go. Stop analyzing. Stop calculating and go. Because that's your inner compass showing you the fastest route to expansion. Your job isn't to outthink your life. It's to align with it. The universe isn't testing your intelligence, it's testing your trust. The people who move, win. The people who wait don't. And it has nothing to do with luck. It's about flow. Flow rewards faith, not fear. Every moment you hesitate, someone else moves. Someone else acts on the same idea you talked yourself out of. And then you watch them succeed and wonder why you didn't. The answer is simple. You thought too long. You gave logic the steering wheel when intuition had already set the course. So stop overthinking. Stop analyzing every variable before you move. Start sensing. Start trusting. Start responding to the energy instead of the fear. Because when you move from alignment, life moves with you. Doors open. Opportunities appear. Money starts to flow again, not because you earned it through logic, but because you stopped blocking it with doubt. This is what most people never understand. Wealth is natural. It's supposed to flow. But your thoughts, your doubts, your overthinking, your fears, build a dam in front of it. And then you wonder why nothing's moving. So break the dam. Let the flow return. Say it again. Less thinking. More sensing. Less logic. More presence. That's your new mantra. That's your new standard. When your mind starts racing, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what feels aligned right now? And then move on that feeling without overanalyzing it to death. That's how you begin to unlock your intuitive wealth blueprint. Not by reading more books, not by following more gurus, but by turning inward and trusting what's been there all along. You have a choice. You can keep overthinking and stay stuck, or you can start trusting and start building. You can keep waiting for the perfect plan, or you can let alignment lead the way. It's not about logic. It's about flow. It's not about being smart. It's about being still enough to listen. That's the key. You've spent years training your mind to think. Now it's time to train it to feel, because that's where your power lives, not in overthinking, but in sensing, not in perfection, but in presence. So stop trying to outsmart wealth. Start aligning with it. You don't need to prove you're ready. You just need to start moving from truth. You mastered your awareness. Now it's time to master your compass. Chapter 2. Your inner compass already knows you already know. You've always known. The problem isn't knowledge. It's trust. You've been trained to doubt the very voice that's been guiding you since the beginning. The voice that whispers before logic catches up. The one that nudges you, warns you, confirms you, and yet you ignore it. You call it coincidence. You call it just a feeling. But that feeling is your blueprint. Your inner compass has never been wrong. It's not guessing. It's guiding. It's connected to everything that's unfolding, even when your logic can't see the full map yet. Let's get something straight. Intuition isn't mystical. It's not magic. It's the deepest form of intelligence you possess. It's your body, your subconscious, your pattern recognition, all communicating in real time. It's how your energy speaks before your mouth does. It's how you know what's right long before you can explain why, but here's the truth. You stopped listening. You stopped trusting yourself somewhere along the way. You started outsourcing your inner compass to other people, to experts, to influencers, to algorithms. And now every decision feels heavier, slower, harder. You don't need another opinion. You need reconnection, because you already know. That's the key. Think about it. Every time you ignored your gut, what happened? Every time you said, maybe I'm just being paranoid, or let me think about it, you felt the consequence later. That's not hindsight, that's proof. Proof that your intuition was right the first time. The truth is, your compass is always talking, but you drown it out with noise. The noise of doubt, the noise of fear, the noise of endless what-ifs. And because you don't trust that inner signal, you keep giving power to everything outside you. You chase validation. You chase information. You chase permission. But you don't need their permission. You never did. All you ever needed was confirmation from within. When you begin to trust that quiet signal, even when it doesn't make logical sense, Your entire life reorganizes around that faith. Money starts to flow differently. People start to appear differently. Opportunities align faster. Because now you're operating from coherence, not confusion. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Your intuition has perfect timing. It's never early. It's never late. It speaks when the door is open, but if you hesitate, that door closes. That's why indecision is so expensive. Every time you pause on what your intuition already told you to do, you pay for it later in regret, delay, or missed opportunity. Stop paying for hesitation. Start moving on knowing that's the shift. Now let's get practical. How do you strengthen your inner compass? By using it? By testing it? By listening and acting without needing proof every time? Try this. Before making any decision, pause. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath and ask yourself what feels lighter, not what sounds smarter, but what feels aligned. Because intuition speaks in energy, not logic. If it feels light, it's right. If it feels heavy, it's resistance. That's your compass. You don't need to explain it. You just need to follow it. Because when you do, something powerful happens. Your intuition starts trusting you back. The more you listen, the louder it becomes. The more you act, the clearer it speaks. And soon, you won't have to second guess anymore. You'll just know, that's freedom. That's clarity. That's wealth. Because wealth isn't about money. It's about flow. And flow comes from alignment, not logic. Here's the trap most people fall into. They want proof before they act. They say, if I just see the evidence, then I'll trust. But intuition doesn't work that way. Trust is the evidence. Faith is the signal. You leap first, and the proof appears after. That's how every major success story begins. Do you think visionaries like Steve Jobs, Oprah, or Elon Musk followed logic? No. Logic told them their ideas were impossible. Intuition told them to move anyway. They followed the pull, not the plan. And that's why the world followed them. You have that same compass. You just buried it under logic, fear, and overthinking. But it's still there, waiting for you to tune back in. Say it again. You already know. You've always known. Trust it. The more you honor that voice, the more aligned your decisions become. And aligned decisions create exponential outcomes. One intuitive move can replace 10 logical plans. Because intuition skips the detour. It takes you straight to the door that's meant for you. Stop fighting it. Stop asking for signs when the signal is already clear. You don't need a sign. You are the sign. That idea that won't leave your mind? That's your compass. That person you can't stop thinking about connecting with? That's your compass. That urge to leave, pivot, invest, create? That's your compass. Stop questioning it. Start respecting it. You have a choice. You can keep living from doubt, or you can start living from knowing. You can stay addicted to logic, or you can surrender to guidance. You can keep waiting for permission, or you can decide that your intuition is the permission. That's the power of this chapter. That's the shift you must make. Here's the truth. When you start trusting yourself deeply, money begins to trust you too. Because money is energy. It flows to confidence, clarity, and certainty. And intuition gives you all three. When you move from intuition, you move with precision. You stop wasting energy, time, and opportunities. You stop chasing the wrong things. You start flowing toward the right ones. That's why intuitive wealth always outperforms logical wealth. Because logic plays to win. Intuition plays to align. And alignment always wins in the long run. So stop trying to think your way forward. Start feeling your way forward. Stop overanalyzing every decision. Start trusting the first feeling that rises when your heart speaks. You don't need more time. You don't need more certainty. You need more trust. That's the foundation of everything that comes next. Because the truth is simple. You can't attract wealth from confusion. You can only attract it from clarity. And clarity begins when you stop asking, what should I do? And start declaring, I already know. Say it again. I already know. I've always known. Now I trust it. You just remembered what the world made you forget. That you were born guided, born connected, born equipped to sense your path. Now, it's time to follow that path. You've tuned into your compass. Now let's master the balance between thinking and sensing. The bridge between logic and intuition that multiplies your wealth. Chapter 3. Logic builds. Intuition multiplies. Logic is your foundation. But intuition, that's your expansion. Logic builds the structure. Intuition multiplies the wealth. You need both, but not equally. Because logic creates walls while intuition opens doors. Logic plans the path. Intuition finds the shortcut. You've been told to rely on logic alone, to stay safe, to play by the rules, to make sense. But tell me, did making sense ever make you rich? Did logic ever lead you to a breakthrough, or did it just keep you where it's safe? Logic is limited. It sees only what's visible. It builds predictably, slowly, cautiously. Intuition, though, it multiplies, it leaps, it bends time, it collapses years of effort into moments of alignment. That's what the logical mind can't understand. That's why people get stuck, because they're trying to think their way into a result that can only come from flow. Let's break it down. Logic is the system. Intuition is the signal. Logic gives you structure, discipline, and consistency. Yes, that's vital. But intuition gives you timing, precision, and magic. That's priceless. If you rely only on logic, you'll move in straight lines. But success, real success, moves in curves, in waves, in jumps that can't be graphed. Here's what happens when logic runs the show. You plan, and plan. You gather data, you analyze risk, and by the time you're ready, the moment has passed. Opportunity doesn't wait for perfect plans. It responds to presence. That's where intuition lives, in the now. It whispers, "Move now!" It doesn't care if your spreadsheet agrees. It doesn't ask for your permission. It just knows. Logic says, "Prove it first." Intuition says, "Trust it first." And that's the difference between the people who grow and the people who just prepare forever. The people who multiply don't need every answer. They just need alignment, because alignment is faster than analysis. It's cleaner than chaos. It's the difference between forcing and flowing. Say it again, logic builds. Intuition multiplies. Logic creates the frame. Intuition paints the masterpiece. Look at every innovator, every entrepreneur, every creator who shifted the world. They didn't follow logic. They used it as a tool, not a master. They built systems, yes, but the vision came from beyond logic. It came from a pulse, a knowing, a deep certainty that didn't fit on paper. You need that balance. You need logic to stabilize your moves, but intuition to guide them. Because logic without intuition becomes sterile, and intuition without logic becomes scattered. Together they create flow with direction, power with precision. Here's how you apply it. Step 1. Use logic to prepare. Get your basics right. Structure your finances. Build your habits. Train your discipline. That's your base. Step 2. Once you're prepared, stop analyzing. Start listening. When the opportunity arises, when something feels right, when your body says yes, move, even if it doesn't fit the numbers yet, that's where the multiplication begins. That's where exponential returns happen. Because the universe doesn't multiply planning. It multiplies alignment. You can have the perfect strategy, the perfect timing, the perfect education, and still lose if you ignore your intuition. Because logic sees the map, but intuition feels the terrain. It knows the shortcuts, the hidden doors, the moments of acceleration that numbers can't predict. You know what this looks like in real life? When an investor moves before the market shifts, because they can feel the turn. When a creator launches something no one asked for, and the world ends up loving it. When an entrepreneur makes a move that doesn't make sense, and it changes their life forever, that's intuitive timing. That's how wealth multiplies, not through certainty, but through alignment. Not through safety, but through sensing. Say it with me. Use logic to prepare. Use intuition to leap. That's your formula. You don't throw logic away. You use it to build a stable base so intuition can soar. Because intuition without preparation is chaos. But preparation without intuition is prison. You need both. That's how you move from controlled growth to quantum growth. That's how you go from addition to multiplication. From surviving to expanding. From thinking to flowing. Now let's be honest. Following intuition isn't comfortable. Because intuition often asks for moves your logic can't justify. It asks for faith before evidence, and that terrifies the logical mind. But that's also where your evolution begins. Logic keeps you safe. Intuition makes you great. Safety builds stability. Greatness builds legacy. You have to choose. Do you want to be safe or do you want to be significant? Because you can't be both. The logical mind says, wait until it makes sense. The intuitive mind says, move, and it will make sense later. And that's the truth of every breakthrough. If you're waiting to understand before you act, you'll always move too late. But if you act from alignment, logic will catch up after. That's how intuition multiplies everything you touch. When logic is in charge, you get predictable results. When intuition leads, you get exponential results. Because intuition moves with universal timing. It knows what's ready, what's aligned, and what's ripe for expansion. You can't calculate that. You can only sense it. So, here's your challenge. This week, don't chase proof. Chase peace. When a choice feels right, move. When it feels forced, stop. When your mind is loud, go quiet. When your heart is certain, act. You have a choice. To live by logic or to lead by intuition. To build walls or to open doors. To keep planning for someday or to start multiplying now. It's not about thinking harder. It's about sensing deeper. It's not about safety. It's about synchronicity. That's the key. Say it again. Logic builds. Intuition multiplies. That's how wealth flows. That's how energy expands. That's how ordinary people become unstoppable. You've built your structure. Now it's time to tune your frequency. Because logic gives you the tools, but intuition gives you the signal. And when those two merge, you become a force that no market, no person, and no setback can stop. This is your turning point. You no longer live by what makes sense. You live by what feels aligned. You no longer wait for evidence. You become the evidence. Remember this, logic builds the house, but intuition fills it with gold. You've learned how to balance both. Now, it's time to master the silence that lets intuition speak at full volume. Because without silence, you can't hear the signal. And without the signal, you can't multiply your wealth you've built. You've aligned. Now you learn to listen. Chapter 4. Silence is your wealth. Frequency, silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. It's not the absence of sound. It's the presence of signal. The problem is, you've been living in noise. Every day your mind is overloaded. Voices, opinions, alerts, notifications, distractions. You're listening to everything except yourself. And that's why you're not hearing the signal of wealth. Because wealth doesn't scream, it whispers. And only silence lets you hear it. Noise is the enemy of intuition. Noise keeps you reactive instead of creative. It keeps you chasing instead of attracting. It keeps you busy but not effective. Listen carefully. The people who master silence don't move slower. They move smarter. They hear what others miss. They feel the timing others ignore. They can sense the next move while the crowd is still scrolling. Silence isn't weakness. It's weaponry. It's clarity sharpened through stillness. You think you need more input, more knowledge, more strategies, more ideas. But what you really need is less. Less clutter, less chatter, less mental noise blocking your inner compass. You can't receive when your frequency is full. You can't download clarity in a crowded mind. You can't attract abundance when you're tuned into chaos. Silence is how you tune back in. It's how you hear your wealth frequency. Because the truth is, money has an energy. And energy responds to alignment, not anxiety. It responds to calm confidence, not desperate noise. Say it again. Silence speaks in prophets. Stillness reveals direction. When you slow down, you speed up alignment. When you quiet the noise, you raise your signal. And that's when the answers start arriving. Here's the truth. Most people aren't failing because they don't know what to do. They're failing because they can't hear what to do. Their frequency is jammed by distraction. Their energy is scattered. Their mind is running on static. You have to break that pattern. You have to create silence deliberately, because silence is not automatic, it's earned. It takes discipline to unplug, disconnect, and listen. But that's where your power lives. Every day, take time to go still. No phone, no noise, no outside voices. Just you and your inner compass. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You'll crave stimulation. You'll reach for your phone. You'll want to escape the silence. But that discomfort? That's detox. That's your nervous system recalibrating to presence. And when you break through it, when your mind quiets, that's when the real messages start coming through. That's when you'll feel the next step before you can explain it. That's when wealth starts to whisper. Understand this. The universe doesn't shout. It whispers. And it whispers in frequencies that only silence can catch. When you create space, you create signal. And that signal carries guidance, opportunity, and alignment. So stop filling every gap with noise. Stop drowning your clarity in consumption. Stop assuming that more input means more progress. It doesn't. It means more confusion. Clarity is subtraction, not addition. It's what's left when the unnecessary fades away. It's what remains when you stop trying to control and start allowing. Let's make it practical. Here's how you use silence as a wealth strategy. Step 1. Unplug. Set time daily with 0 input. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes. Just be still. Let your mind breathe. Step 2. Observe. Don't try to think. Don't try to solve. Just notice what rises. Feel your energy shift. You'll begin to sense patterns, nudges, signals. That's your intuition coming online again. Step 3. Act. When the signal comes, don't question it. Move. Because silence gives birth to clarity, but clarity dies if you delay. You have to protect silence like a sacred ritual. Because once you lose it, you lose direction. And when you lose direction, you waste energy. And wasted energy is wasted wealth. Say it again. Silence creates signal. Signal creates direction. Direction creates wealth. That's the chain. Break the silence, you break the signal. Break the signal, you break your alignment. Break your alignment, you break your flow. So, protect your silence. Guard it like gold. Because it is gold. Internal gold that compounds into external success. Every major decision you'll ever make, the right ones, come from silence. Every big breakthrough, every new idea, every real pivot, they're born in quiet. Not in the noise of opinions, but in the peace of awareness. The mind loves to rush. The ego loves to speak. But wealth, real intuitive wealth, loves to listen. When you master silence, you master signal clarity. And when your signal is clear, the world starts to respond differently. People trust you more. Opportunities align faster. You make moves that seem lucky, but they're not luck. They're the result of silence sharpened into certainty. That's why the most powerful people on earth spend hours each day in silence. Meditation, reflection, stillness. Call it what you want, it's all the same. It's tuning into the master frequency that runs everything. Because when you're still, you hear. And when you hear, you know. And when you know, you move. That's how intuition turns into precision. That's how clarity turns into cash flow. Because every aligned action, everyone, begins in stillness. You think you need to hustle more, but you need to listen more. You think you need to push harder, but you need to pause deeper. It's not about doing more. It's about hearing better. That's the key. Let silence become your strategy. Let quiet become your edge. Because the one who hears clearly wins clearly. The one who listens deeply moves powerfully. You don't need to prove your worth through noise. You need to express your power through silence. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly silent? When was the last time you disconnected long enough to feel your own signal? When was the last time you allowed yourself to listen without rushing to speak? That's your next discipline. That's your next wealth move, because silence isn't a pause in progress. It's preparation for it. It's not emptiness, it's expansion. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. And the moment you honor silence, you'll notice something shift. Money starts to follow peace. It starts to flow to you naturally, effortlessly, quietly, because your energy finally matches abundance, calm, confident, clear. So from this moment on, protect your silence. Defend your peace, because in the silence, everything you've been chasing finally finds you. You've learned to listen in stillness. Now it's time to move with feeling. You've quieted the noise. Now learn to trust the signal that rises. That's the next stage of intuition mastery. Chapter 5. Feel before you act. You've been taught to think before you act. But what if I told you? That's what's holding you back, because thinking can deceive you. Feeling never does. You've been trained to analyze every move, calculate every step, overplan every outcome. And where has that led you? To hesitation, to doubt, to missed opportunities that never come back. You've become so addicted to logic that you've forgotten how to listen to yourself. You keep asking the world for permission to move, instead of trusting the signal that's already inside you. But here's the truth. Your intuition doesn't shout. It nudges, it whispers. It speaks through feelings, not formulas. That flutter in your stomach, that pull in your chest, that quiet knowing that something is right. That's the signal. That's the map. You want to master the flow of wealth? Then stop acting from fear and start acting from feeling. Because every time you act without alignment, you lose energy. Every time you act from logic but ignore your body's truth, you waste motion. You chase the wrong deals, follow the wrong people, say yes when your soul screams no. You don't need to think more. You need to feel clearer. You don't need more data. You need more connection. Say it again, feel before you act. Because when you feel, you align. And when you align, you attract. You don't chase flow. You tune into it. You don't control outcomes. You sync with them. That's the difference between hustle and harmony, between force and flow, between scarcity and wealth. Think about it. Every big decision that changed your life, the real ones, didn't come from overthinking. They came from a knowing. You felt it, even when it didn't make sense. You couldn't explain it, but you couldn't ignore it. That's the language of intuition. That's your inner compass trying to lead you home. But most people silence that voice. They drown it in logic. They second-guess it until it disappears. And then they wonder why their life feels like a series of wrong turns. You've done it too. You've had moments where you knew the truth, but you didn't move. And later you said to yourself, I knew it. I felt it. That's your proof. You're already connected. You just stopped trusting it. Feeling is faster than thinking. It's older than logic. It's how every great creator, investor, leader, and artist operates. They don't overanalyze the moment, and they sense it. They can feel the timing. They can feel the energy of a room. They can feel when to wait and when to strike. That's the difference between noise and mastery. So here's the rule. Never act before you feel. Because if your action doesn't carry your energy, it won't carry results. You don't make moves for validation. You make moves from vibration, from resonance, from that deep yes that your mind can't explain, but your body can. Let's make this real. When you wake up each day, before touching your phone, sit still for 60 seconds. Breathe, listen, feel. Ask yourself, what feels aligned today? Where does my energy want to go? What feels heavy? What feels light? Because that's your navigation system. Light means go. Heavy means no. And if you honor that, you'll notice something wild. Your day unfolds smoother. Conversations align. Opportunities feel easier. Money starts showing up through peace, not pressure. That's not magic. That's resonance. That's the universe responding to your internal signal. Because your feelings are energy in motion. They're feedback from the field. They're not random. They're precise data from your higher intelligence. But here's the thing. If you ignore those feelings long enough, you'll stop hearing them. You'll go numb. You'll move through life like a robot. Efficient but empty. That's how most people live. They think they're in control, but they're not even connected. Their mind moves, but their spirit's asleep. You can't build intuitive wealth with a disconnected soul. You can't attract abundance while ignoring your own signals. That's why this chapter matters. Because every step forward from here must come from feeling first. Stop waiting for full certainty. Start trusting partial clarity. Because intuition isn't loud, but it's right. It won't give you the full map, but it gives you the next step. And that's all you need. Say it again. You don't need to see the entire path, just the next right move. You don't need guarantees. You need alignment. That's the difference between control and connection. Let me tell you something. Every master investor, every great leader, and they all talk about gut feeling. They call it instinct. They call it timing. But what they're really saying is, I trust my feeling. They don't wait for perfect numbers. They move when it feels right. And that's why they win. Because intuition reads beyond data. It senses patterns logic can't compute. It connects dots your mind doesn't even see yet. You think that's luck? It's not. It's alignment. It's deep listening. It's the discipline of feeling before acting, and that's the discipline you must build now. The next time you're faced with a decision, stop. Don't rush. Don't ask for 10 opinions. Don't seek approval. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Ask your body, not your brain. How does this feel? If it contracts, don't move. If it expands, go. That's it. That's the language of truth. That's the compass you've been searching for in spreadsheets and seminars. Remember this mantra. Feel it. Trust it. Move with it. That's how you build intuitive wealth. Because when you act from feeling, you're no longer chasing. You're flowing. You're no longer forcing. You're aligning. You stop being a beggar of results and become a creator of resonance. And that's when everything changes. You make fewer moves, but every move matters. You work less, but everything you touch multiplies. Because your actions carry clarity. And clarity is currency. Let this sink in. Feeling is your first intelligence. Thinking is your second. You've been living upside down. You've been worshiping logic while ignoring life. But wealth doesn't live in logic. It lives in flow. And flow begins in feeling. So flip the script. Lead with your body. Follow with your mind. Let feeling guide the move. And let logic structure it after. That's how intuition and intelligence merge. That's how you build empires with ease. You've learned how to listen in silence. Now you've learned how to feel before you act. That's your new edge. That's your new superpower. Because when you act from feeling, every move carries energy, purpose, and truth. You've reconnected your compass. You've remembered your signal. Now it's time to direct that signal toward creation. Because what you feel can now be shaped into form. You've heard. You've felt. Now you create. Chapter 6. Energy. Is the real currency? Money isn't your currency. Energy is. Every dollar you earn is just energy condensed into paper. Every opportunity you attract is energy vibrating in sync with your state. Every result you see in your outer world is a mirror of your inner charge. You can't fake your frequency. You can't cheat your vibration. You can only align or repel. You've been chasing money. But money isn't the source. It's the result. Energy is the source. And your energy, your emotional state, your focus, your intention, is your wealth engine. That's the secret most people miss. They think it's about hard work. They think it's about hours, hustle, and external control. But the most powerful form of work isn't physical. It's energetic. You don't attract wealth by chasing it. You magnetize it by matching its frequency. Say it again. You don't earn money with time. You earn it with energy. Look around. You can feel it. Some people walk into a room and everything lifts. Deals open up. Ideas flow. People want to be near them. Others walk in and everything shuts down. They drain the air. They drain the vibe. They carry scarcity in their tone, tension in their body, fear in their energy. Same skills. Same intelligence. Different frequency. Different results. Because the universe doesn't pay you for effort. It pays you for energy. And if your energy is chaotic, desperate, or negative, you repel flow. If your energy is grounded, open, and confident, you attract it. So stop measuring wealth by your bank account. Start measuring it by your state, because your state determines your fate. That's the law. That's the foundation. That's the truth no one told you in school. Let's make this clear. Every thought is an investment. Every emotion is a transaction. Every focus is a deposit or a withdrawal from your energetic account. When you focus on fear, you drain energy. When you obsess over problems, you bankrupt your frequency. When you complain, you spend your power. But when you focus on gratitude, you multiply energy. When you take aligned action, you earn energetic interest. When you hold calm confidence under pressure, you generate wealth frequency. That's how energy compounds. Say it again. What you focus on expands. What you embody multiplies. This isn't wishful thinking. It's physics. Frequency attracts frequency. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. So the question is, what energy are you broadcasting every day? Scarcity or sufficiency? Fear or faith? Hustle or harmony? Because that's what the world is responding to. Not your words, not your plans, but your frequency. Here's what most people do wrong. They think if they grind hard enough, they'll finally feel free. They think if they earn enough, they'll finally relax. But the paradox is, you can't reach abundance through scarcity. You can't arrive at peace through tension. You have to start with the energy you want to experience. You want abundance? Then move like you already have it. You want freedom? Then stop acting like a prisoner of your calendar. You want respect? Then embody self-respect first. That's the reversal. You don't wait to feel rich. You feel rich, and then the richness finds you. Because energy leads, matter follows. That's the hierarchy of creation. Energy first, form second. State first, success second. So stop asking, how can I get more money? Start asking, how can I raise my energy? Because the higher your energy, the faster your manifestation. Here's what that looks like in practice. Protect your energy like you protect your password. Every time you let negativity in, you're leaking currency. Every gossip, every complaint, every drama you entertain, it's costing you. You're paying attention to what doesn't pay you back. You're investing your life force into liabilities. Start filtering. Start saying no. Start treating your peace as profit. Recharge intentionally. Rest isn't laziness, it's wealth maintenance. Stillness isn't weakness, it's power storage. The reason most people are broke isn't because they don't work hard, it's because they're energetically exhausted. They're rich in motion, but poor in power. They're busy but not magnetic. You can't manifest from burnout, energy must circulate. Recharge must be part of your discipline. Transmute emotion into creation. Don't suppress energy, redirect it. Anger? Use it to move forward. Fear? Turn it into focus. Sadness? Let it sharpen your empathy and depth. Every emotion carries voltage. Your job is to conduct it, not control it. That's how you stay rich in spirit. You see, when your energy is clean, opportunities find you. Synchronicities appear. The right people show up. Money starts to flow in unexpected ways. Why? Because energy communicates faster than words. People feel your certainty before they hear your story. They trust your vibration before they believe your pitch. They can sense alignment or desperation instantly. So build the kind of energy that sells before you speak. Build the kind of frequency that opens doors before you knock. That's magnetic wealth. That's intuitive success. And let's be clear, this isn't about fake positivity. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about maintaining energetic truth. Feel what you feel. Process it. But don't stay stuck in low frequency. Emotion is energy. Let it move. Don't let it rot. You can cry and still be powerful. You can fail and still be aligned. You can fall and still vibrate wealth because wealth isn't a number, it's a state. And your energy decides that state. You want to see your income rise? Then raise your energy first. You want your business to grow? Then grow your vibration. You want to feel supported? Then support yourself with cleaner energy. It's that simple. But simple doesn't mean easy, because most people are addicted to low vibration, addicted to stress, addicted to chaos, addicted to scarcity. You've got to detox from that. You've got to choose power over pressure. You've got to protect your frequency like your future depends on it, because it does. Say it again. Energy is the real currency, and you are the bank. Every thought deposits. Every emotion invests. Every action compounds. So manage your energy the way the wealthy manage money, with precision, protection, and purpose. Because the truth is, when your energy is right, everything becomes effortless. Doors open faster, people respond better, ideas flow smoother, and money, it becomes a reflection, not a pursuit. You've learned to listen. You've learned to feel. Now, you've learned to charge your energy. This is your wealth generator, your internal economy. And the more disciplined you are with it, the more unstoppable you become. Because the highest currency in existence isn't in banks. It's in you. You are the power source. You are the transmitter. You are the frequency of your own fortune. Protect that energy. Guard it. Invest it wisely. Because when your energy expands, so does your entire life. You've learned the law of energy. Now it's time to learn the law of alignment in action. Chapter 7, Flow over Force. You've been forcing everything. Forcing results. Forcing outcomes. Forcing people. Forcing timing, and you're exhausted. Because force drains power. Flow builds it. You've been taught to grind harder, push longer, fight stronger, but you were never taught to align. You were trained to chase, not to channel. To struggle, not to synchronize. To fight against life instead of moving with it, and that's why you feel stuck. That's why you're tired. That's why no matter how hard you push, nothing moves, because force is resistance disguised as effort. And resistance is poverty energy. Say it again. Resistance is poverty energy. When you're forcing something that isn't ready, you're sending a signal of lack. You're telling the universe, I don't trust the process, and the universe responds with more struggle. Flow, on the other hand, is trust in motion. It's power without pressure. It's movement without tension. When you're in flow, everything syncs. Timing feels perfect. Opportunities feel organic. People appear exactly when you need them. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. You've aligned your energy with timing, and timing has aligned itself with you. Understand this. Life has its own rhythm, and wealth follows rhythm. Money moves in cycles. Opportunities have seasons. Everything in creation flows. Inhale, exhale. Expansion, contraction. Give, receive. When you resist that rhythm, you suffer. When you align with it, you rise. Force says, I must make it happen now. Flow says, I'll move when it's time. Force burns you out. Flow builds you up. And the difference isn't action, it's alignment. Two people can take the same step, one from force, one from flow, and get completely different results, because one acts from fear. The other acts from knowing. Let's break it down. When you're forcing, your body feels tight. Your chest closes, your breath shortens. You're moving from tension. You're trying to control outcomes that don't belong to you yet. That's what stops your abundance. You're blocking the current by gripping too hard. But when you're in flow, you feel light. Your breath deepens. Your energy opens. You trust. You allow. You respond, not react. That's the sweet spot. The zone where intuition and timing merge. You're no longer chasing opportunity. You're moving with it. You're no longer begging results. You're becoming the reason they happen. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to align deeper. You don't need more force. You need more flow. Flow isn't passive. It's precise. It's intentional motion synced with universal rhythm. When you're in flow, you still work. You still move. You still show up. But you're guided, not grinding. You stop swimming upstream, and the river starts carrying you. That's how real momentum works. It's not constant push, it's consistent presence. You don't have to force opportunity. You attract it by being in the right vibration when it passes, and it always passes. The flow never stops. You just have to be awake enough to see it. Let me make this practical. Step 1. Stop fighting timing. Your impatience is blocking your prosperity. If it's not happening yet, there's a reason. There's alignment being built behind the scenes. Trust that. Don't rush it. You can't pick fruit before it's ripe and expect sweetness. You can't force outcomes before energy's ready and expect stability. Timing is your ally, not your enemy. So stop wrestling with the clock. Step 2, stay in motion, but drop attachment. Do the work, but don't worship the result. Let go of when and how. Just focus on what and why. You act because it's aligned, not because you're desperate. You move because it feels right, not because you fear falling behind. That's the power of flow. Step 3. Let peace become your signal. If it feels frantic, it's force. If it feels calm but alive, it's flow. If it feels heavy, it's resistance. If it feels light, it's alignment. That's how you know when to move and when to wait. Flow has no anxiety in it. No rush, no panic. Just power, precision, and peace. You've been told that success requires constant struggle. That belief keeps you poor, not financially but energetically. Because struggle is not a badge of honor. It's a sign of misalignment. Flow is not laziness. It's intelligence. It's mastery. It's the art of timing energy perfectly with opportunity. Look at nature. Everything flows. The tide doesn't force itself to rise. The sun doesn't rush to shine. The seasons don't panic about when to change. Everything happens in rhythm, effortlessly, powerfully, predictably, and you are part of that same system. You're built from that same intelligence. So why do you act like you have to fight it? Your wealth wants to flow through you. Your ideas want to move. Your purpose wants to expand. But you keep clogging the channel with control. Let go. Trust the current. You're not here to force. You're here to flow. Repeat this to yourself. When I'm aligned, I don't have to chase. I attract. When I'm in flow, I don't compete, I create. When I trust timing, I multiply results. Because the universe always meets you where your energy is. And flow is the energy of abundance. Force says, I don't trust it will come. Flow says, I know it's already on the way. And that knowing changes everything. Let's get real. Flow requires faith. It's not for the weak. It's not for those who need control to feel safe. Flow demands surrender. It demands presence. It demands listening to intuition, not impulse. That's why it's mastery. That's why it separates amateurs from alchemists. You can't create intuitive wealth with fear-based control. You can only create it through energetic trust. So learn to release what you can't rush. Move with what moves you. And stop apologizing for the pace of your purpose. Because flow is not slow. Flow is exact. It arrives right on time, every time. Say it again. Force exhausts. Flow expands. Force fights. Flow attracts. Force drains. Flow sustains. You're not meant to suffer your way to success. You're meant to align your way into abundance. And the moment you stop fighting timing, the current of wealth catches you. You move faster than ever, not because you're forcing, but because you're finally flowing. That's when everything clicks. That's when the right clients appear. The right partners connect. The right insights drop. Because you stopped resisting and started receiving. That's the power of flow over force. You've learned how to feel. You've learned how to align. Now you've learned how to move with life, not against it. You are no longer chasing momentum. You are the momentum. And from here, the next level begins. You've mastered the rhythm of energy. Now it's time to master the rhythm of expression, because alignment without expression is wasted potential. Chapter 8. Express to expand silence can suffocate potential. Suppression kills momentum. And nothing blocks abundance faster than holding back what's meant to move through you. You want to expand? Then express. Because energy that isn't expressed becomes pressure. Ideas that aren't spoken become frustration. Purpose that isn't lived becomes pain. Expression is how the universe breathes through you. Every word, every action, every creative output, it's all energy trying to move. And when you let it move, life moves with you. You've been told to stay quiet, to be humble, to not make noise, to not take up space. But let's be real. That advice is for people who've given up their fire. You were built to express. You were built to transmit. You are a signal, not a shadow. Your voice, your work, your ideas, they are how abundance travels. You want more wealth? Express more value. You want deeper connections? Express more truth. You want stronger influence? Express more authenticity. Expansion begins with expression. Let's make this simple. When you suppress emotion, it becomes tension. When you suppress creativity, it becomes anxiety. When you suppress your truth, it becomes confusion. You're not stuck, you're silent. You're not blocked, you're holding back. You keep waiting for permission to be seen while the universe is waiting for you to show yourself. Expression is the unlock. It's the release valve. It's the act of letting energy move instead of letting it rot inside you. That's why when you finally speak your truth, you feel lighter. When you create something, you feel alive. When you teach, share, write, build, you feel flow. That's energy doing what it was born to do. Expand. Wealth is not accumulation. Wealth is circulation, and circulation requires expression. Money moves through communication, creativity, contribution. The richer your expression, the wider your channel. You don't get paid for ideas you hide. You get paid for value you express. That's why silence is expensive. Because every time you hide your truth, you block your abundance. So speak, share, teach, record, write, build, create. Let energy exit your system in the form of impact. That's how wealth enters back. Expression out. Expansion in. That's the rhythm. But here's the truth most people miss. Expression isn't about noise, it's about resonance. Anyone can talk. Few can transmit. When you express from ego, it's noise. When you express from truth, it's power. Your voice carries vibration. Your ideas carry frequency. And people don't just hear you, they feel you. That's why authenticity is currency. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. The world doesn't reward loud, it rewards real. So stop filtering your fire. Stop toning yourself down to fit into spaces you were meant to lead. Your expansion depends on your expression. Let's break it down. Step 1. Speak your truth, not your trauma. The goal isn't to unload pain, it's to unlock power. You're not here to rant. You're here to reveal. Speak from clarity, not chaos. From lesson, not wound. Every truth you've lived through becomes a tool for someone else's growth, if you're willing to express it. Step 2. Create without expectation. Don't wait for approval to make your move. Don't wait for the perfect plan to post, launch, or speak. Expression is not about reaction, it's about release. Let it out. Even if nobody claps, even if nobody sees. Because every time you express, you expand your energetic field, and the universe notices long before the audience does. Step 3. Move with message. Everything you do carries vibration. The way you walk, speak, write, sell, teach, it's all transmission. Be intentional with what you send. Because you attract what you broadcast. Your life is always speaking. Make sure it's saying something worth hearing. Let's talk business, because expression is business. Brand is expression. Marketing is expression. Leadership is expression. The people who grow fast are not the smartest. They're the most expressive. They show up, they talk, they share. They repeat, they don't overthink. They transmit. And that consistency of expression builds trust, identity, and attraction. That's why silence kills momentum. The algorithm of life doesn't reward the quiet, it rewards the consistent. So stop disappearing. Your silence confuses the universe. Keep broadcasting your truth until reality aligns with your signal. Here's the deeper truth. You are not expressing for them. You are expressing for you, because every time you let energy move out, new energy moves in. Expression cleans your channel. It keeps your vibration fresh, alive, open. The people who stagnate are the ones who stopped creating. They stopped sharing. They started hiding. And the universe can't flow through what hides, so be visible. Be bold, be clear. Not for validation, but for vibration. You expand by being seen. Say this with me. I express my truth, and my life expands. I speak from purpose, and wealth flows to me. My expression is my expansion, because the moment you express, you release energy that was holding you small. And what's left? Freedom, flow, fulfillment. Expression doesn't just expand your reach, it expands your capacity to receive more, to handle more, to become more. You can't grow into the next version of you while staying silent. You have to speak it into existence. That's not a quote. That's law. Every chapter of your life is waiting to be written by you. Not by what people think, not by what's safe, but by what's true. Your voice is a tool. Your words are wealth. Your energy is art. And when you use them, everything changes. So write that message. Launch that brand. Record that voice note. Post that truth. Speak that vision, because the world doesn't expand through silence. It expands through you, and the moment you express, you activate others to do the same. Your voice gives permission. Your truth opens pathways. Your presence multiplies energy. That's not small. That's sacred. So stop hiding behind potential and start expressing from power. You are not here to whisper your vision. You are here to broadcast your purpose. The more you express, the more you expand. That's the code. That's the current. That's the next evolution of your wealth and self. You've mastered alignment. You've mastered flow. Now you've mastered expression. Next comes expansion in service, turning your energy into impact and influence that changes lives and multiplies legacy. Chapter 9. Expand in service. You've expanded your mind. You've expanded your energy. Now it's time to expand your impact. Because expansion without service collapses. Growth without purpose rots. Abundance without contribution becomes emptiness in disguise. Wealth was never meant to stop with you. It's meant to flow through you. That's the secret the world's most fulfilled people know. They don't chase wealth, they channel it. They don't hoard, they host. They don't grab, they give. Because the moment you serve, the universe expands through you. Listen closely. The greatest currency isn't money, it's meaning. And the greatest wealth isn't accumulation, it's circulation. Your life force expands every time your value reaches someone else's life. Your energy doubles every time your purpose lifts someone else's path. You are not here to store energy. You are here to transmit it. That's why service is the final stage of expansion. Because when you shift from, "What can I get?" to, "What can I give?" you move from ego's hunger to the soul's fulfillment. But let's be clear. Service doesn't mean sacrifice. You're not here to drain yourself. You're here to amplify yourself through alignment. True service fuels you. False service empties you. If your giving leaves you hollow, it's not service. It's self-abandonment. If your contribution comes from guilt, it's not expansion. It's exhaustion. Real service is overflow. It's what spills out when you're full. You've built discipline. You've built clarity. You've built flow. Now let it spill. You want to expand your wealth? Serve more people. You want to expand your peace? Serve with your presence. You want to expand your legacy? Serve with your message. That's the equation. That's the rhythm. That's the law of expansion. You grow by giving what you've mastered, because the world doesn't need more success stories. It needs more transmitters of truth. You have something the world needs, and the only question left is, are you willing to serve with it? Here's the trap most people fall into. They believe service begins when they arrive, when they're rich enough, smart enough, ready enough. Wrong. Service is how you arrive. It's not the reward, it's the road. You don't wait until you have millions to make impact. You make impact and the millions follow. That's the paradox of purpose. You receive most when you give without fear of losing. Let's ground this in reality. When you start using your skills to solve other people's problems, you expand. When you start mentoring, teaching, sharing, supporting, you expand. When you create products, art, systems that make lives easier, you expand. Because service multiplies relevance. Relevance multiplies opportunity. Opportunity multiplies wealth. That's why impact-driven people never run out of work. They become the work. You have a choice. Stay in the loop of personal gain or step into the cycle of contribution. In one, you're chasing. In the other, you're chosen. When you move from selfish ambition to soulful mission, you become magnetic. Because people can feel the purity of your intention. Energy follows integrity. Money follows meaning. And the moment your purpose serves people, life begins to serve you. Repeat this. I serve, therefore I expand. My giving opens gates. My impact is my investment, because every act of true service returns multiplied, not always in money, but always in magnitude. You can't outgive the universe. The more you pour out, the more life pours in. It's not charity, it's chemistry. Service is the ultimate wealth strategy, because it locks you into the rhythm of circulation, and circulation is what keeps abundance alive. Let's talk energy. Every time you withhold your gift, you shrink your frequency. Every time you doubt your contribution, you distort your signal. You think you're staying safe, but you're actually staying small. Service stretches your energy field. It trains you to hold more light, more love, more flow, more finance. Because serving others requires capacity. And capacity creates expansion. You can't reach new levels of abundance with the same level of self-concern. You have to think bigger, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to your purpose. That's how leaders are made. That's how legacies are built. Service doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't require a stage. It just requires sincerity. Maybe your service is teaching others what you learned through pain. Maybe it's leading a team with clarity and compassion. Maybe it's creating something that solves a real problem. Whatever form it takes, it must flow from authenticity. The most powerful service is done quietly, consistently, intentionally. Not for applause, but for alignment. Because the universe measures your worth not by how much you hold, but by how much you transmit. Here's a principle to engrave in your mind. Purpose refines wealth. Service sustains wealth. You can make money with manipulation, but you can only keep it through meaning. Because without service, money loses its soul. It becomes empty digits, not divine energy. Service anchors your abundance in contribution. It keeps your wealth grounded in gratitude. It turns income into impact. And when impact expands, so does your influence. Now, I want you to remember something. You didn't come here to chase significance. You came here to create it. And you do that by serving relentlessly. Be the person who solves problems, not spreads complaints. Be the person who uplifts energy, not drains it. Be the person who builds bridges, not barriers. That's service. That's power. That's expansion. And here's the paradox. When you serve, you rise. Because in giving, you grow. In teaching, you master. In helping, you heal. You can't outserve your own evolution. Every time you pour out, life fills you back up stronger. That's the law. So stop waiting. Start serving. Stop calculating. Start contributing. Stop playing small. Start expanding through others. Because when your life becomes a channel for good, you become unstoppable. Say it one more time. I expand in service. I rise in purpose. I grow through giving. That's your new frequency. That's your wealth code. And now that you've learned to serve with energy, you're ready for the final chapter. The moment where intuition, impact, and destiny merge into unstoppable creation. Get ready. Chapter 10. Live as if you already knew. You've learned how to listen. You've learned how to trust. You've learned how to flow. Now it's time to live. Because knowing isn't power. Embodying is. Information doesn't change your life. Integration does. You've spent years searching for signs, proof, validation, guidance. But here's the truth. You already know. You've always known. You just didn't trust what you knew. You kept looking outside for what was buried inside. You waited for permission from a world that was waiting for you to lead. No more waiting. No more doubting. No more asking for confirmation of what your soul already decided. It's time to live as if you already knew. You don't need more lessons. You need more application. You don't need more theory. You need more embodiment. Because real power doesn't come from knowing about alignment. It comes from living in it. When you live as if you already knew, you move with certainty. You act with conviction. You stop asking, what if I'm wrong? And start declaring, this is right for me. That's when intuition becomes instinct. That's when wealth becomes natural. That's when alignment becomes identity. Let's be real. Most people never arrive here. They stay trapped in almost ready, almost certain, almost aligned. They wait for perfect timing, perfect clarity, perfect peace. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards walking. Clarity comes from movement. Certainty comes from motion. You have to move before you believe. You have to act before you feel ready. You have to live as if you already knew, even when logic screams otherwise. Because when you do, something powerful happens. Reality starts rearranging itself around your certainty. The world bends to conviction. Energy obeys decision. And destiny aligns with embodiment. Say this out loud. I already know who I am. I already know what I'm here to do. I already know what's next. Because I create it. That's not arrogance. That's awareness, because doubt disconnects you from power, but embodiment anchors you in it. You've been taught to worship uncertainty, to overanalyze before you move. But the masters of life, they move first. They act with faith that their feet will find the ground. They jump before the bridge appears, and somehow it always does. That's the frequency of already knowing. Every choice you make from that place moves energy fast. Doors open faster. People align quicker. Resources find you easier. Why? Because the universe mirrors your belief. It doesn't respond to your confusion. It responds to your conviction. You don't manifest what you wish. You manifest what you embody. So stop saying, I hope this works. Start saying, this is who I am now. That's the shift. That's the quantum leap. That's what living as if you already knew feels like. But let's be clear. Living as if you already knew doesn't mean pretending. It's not fake confidence. It's not delusion, it's discipline. It's decision. It's daily embodiment. You walk with calm power. You speak with quiet certainty. You move without asking for approval. You no longer chase, you choose. You no longer seek, you signal. Every action becomes a declaration. This is who I am, and the world adjusts accordingly. Here's the trap you must avoid on thinking, you need to feel ready before you live ready. You won't. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a frequency. You don't wait for it. You step into it. That's why transformation looks crazy to the logical mind. Because logic asks for evidence. Intuition creates it. When you live as if you already knew, you reverse the equation. You stop waiting for results to believe, you believe, and then results appear. That's not fantasy. That's energy. The universe doesn't respond to time. It responds to tone. And certainty has a tone that creation can't ignore. Look at every breakthrough in your life. It came when you decided. When you said, enough. When you said, now. When you said, this is who I am. That's not luck. That's alignment. You didn't need more information. You needed embodiment. So let this be the chapter where you stop learning and start living. Stop studying the light. Be it. Stop planning the move. Make it. Stop thinking about purpose. Walk in it. Because your intuition isn't just guidance, it's instruction. It's not asking you to think. It's asking you to act. Every single day from this point forward, remind yourself, I live as if I already knew. When you wake up, move like you already know today is aligned. When you speak, speak like your words carry weight. When you invest, invest like you're guided by something bigger than logic. When you work, work like the outcome is inevitable, because it is. Certainty bends outcomes. Belief magnetizes results. Faith accelerates manifestation. That's the new blueprint. That's your intuitive wealth code. And remember this, living as if you already knew isn't arrogance. It's acceptance. Acceptance that you were always enough, that your guidance was never broken, that your purpose has always been clear. You don't find purpose. You remember it. You live it. You embody it. This is where the search ends and life begins. Now let's close this with truth. You don't have to wait another year. You don't have to read another book. You don't have to ask another person for validation. You already know what to do. You already know where to go. You already know what to release. You just have to move. Because destiny doesn't wait for hesitation. It responds to embodiment. So stand tall, breathe deep, and say it like a command. I already know. I already am. I already live. Now walk. Now build. Now create. From that knowing, from that power, from that truth. Because the moment you live as if you already knew, you stop surviving and start sovereigning. This is your arrival. This is your activation. This is the frequency of intuitive wealth, beyond logic, beyond fear, beyond limitation. You've unlocked it. Now live it. You've reached the end, but this isn't an ending. It's a beginning. You've remembered what most forget, that wealth isn't earned through logic. It's aligned through intuition. You now know what it means to feel your direction, to trust your inner compass, to move without fear, and to live as if you already knew. Every word you heard wasn't motivation. It was activation. You've been rewired. Now keep this energy alive. Play it again. Repeat the words until they become your normal frequency. Because repetition builds embodiment, and embodiment builds destiny. If this message resonated, subscribe, stay tuned, and keep expanding with us. The next transformation begins where this one ends. This is Business Book Zone, where we don't chase wealth. We tune into it. Until next time, stay aligned, stay present, and keep unlocking the blueprint within.